Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. I've got a couple of contests to remind you of. One of them is for the new Hellboy movie, and one of them is for the Glass Blu-ray. You can find the entries for both of those contests. Go ahead and try to win these things at our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Electric Playground. That's where you can go and read the details and enter. So please do that. Let's get started with your rundown, and today it's dedicated to Donovan King, whose birthday is April 4th. Here's your rundown. After all the controversy surrounding Battlefront 2, developer DICE is slowly returning to microtransactions. EA and DICE have begun rolling out the first microtransactions for their latest game, Battlefield 5. Starting today, players can spend real-life money to buy in-game currency, simply known as Battlefield currency, which allows them to purchase new cosmetic items for their character. DICE is really stressing this point. They promise that all the buyable items are cosmetic only and don't affect the gameplay, which will hopefully help them avoid the pay-to-win problems that affected Battlefront 2. However, in the coming weeks and months, you'll also be able to start buying elite sets and time savers, and although they don't technically improve your gameplay either, they do make it faster for you to earn better items that can. We'll just have to wait and see how players respond. Microtransactions have obviously caused a lot of problems in the game industry, with EA and other publishers struggling to find ways to implement them that don't alienate players. How do time savers not constitute pay to win? How is that even a thing? How do people even construe that and say, yeah, this is totally different. It's not. If you have the wherewithal and the disposable income to spend the money to access all the stuff that you would have to grind to earn, that you're paying to win. You're paying to have the better stuff to go on the battlefield. That should be outlawed. That should be ridiculous. In any kind of a competitive scenario, there should be the pay-to-win server. You know, if you are going to pay to win your stuff, because you're doing that, you're paying to time save. So good for you. You got lots of money. You're going to do that. It's fantastic. Then open up a server that's only available to those people that spent that money on that foolishness, you know? And good for them that they've got so much money that they don't care. They're just going to pay to access all this stuff, and they don't really want to play and have the experience. This is what's happening with games is people aren't playing for the fun of it. They're playing for the loot. You know, the digital loot. The loot is what's driving everybody insane around this stuff, and it's so awful. I can't stand it. I think it's such a bad move for our business to just push the joy of play aside in this kind of, putting the carrot out there. You got to get this good stuff. You know, if you get this awesome weapon or this fast car, you're going to kick ass. So, you know, you can press that spend button and you can just buy your way right to that right now. That's so ridiculous. It's so cheap. And, I know I sound like a cranky old man, but I can't stand it, man. I think it's terrible. And honestly, I don't know how a developer can be happy about people paying to avoid their game. I don't get it.
Don't just stand there! Go!
After Disney Infinity, Lego Dimensions, and Skylanders, it looks like another Toys to Life game is biting the dust. The space combat game, Starlink Battle for Atlas, might not be such a star after all. Ubisoft has announced that despite a loyal fan following, sales for the game have fallen below expectations, and as such, they will not be releasing any new physical toys. In the game, players can use real-life modular toys to assemble and customize their starships, but they also have the option of buying many of the same starship parts digitally, so discontinuing the physical toys thankfully won't mean the end of the game itself. When Starlink was first announced at E3 2017, many were surprised that Ubisoft was jumping into the Toys to Life genre, given that it already seemed to be on its way out. The prominent Disney Infinity had already been discontinued, and since then, Lego Dimensions and Skylanders have also ended, so it turns out Ubisoft couldn't make it work either. So far, the only company that seems to have made it a success is Nintendo, whose amiibo figures aren't locked to specific games, but instead work with multiple titles across all of their platforms. The good news for Starlink and for Starlink fans is that Ubisoft still plans to continue supporting the game with new digital content, with a big update coming later this spring. I'm not surprised by this news, I have to say. I thought Starlink's toys were really cool, but I think it's just that we live in such a crowded entertainment universe. We have so many things to take our attention, and it's just hard to compete for anybody. And I think if you add layers of things that you have to also pay attention to your core category, you're creating a recipe for ambivalence. You're creating a recipe for people to go, oh, look at that shiny thing. Oh, there's something to squirrel. You know, I mean, it's just a little too crazy out there with all kinds of choices. In addition to all of these entertainment choices, we also live in an era where nobody wants to get off their butts and go into stores. Yes, you can buy everything on Amazon and have it shipped to you, but toys, I think you kind of need to see and touch, and the lack of retail enthusiasm probably didn't bode well for Toys to Life experiences either. I think people just don't want to go to the mall as much, you know? They don't want to go shopping for this kind of stuff as much. I think Starlink was a pretty solid game. Ubisoft built a great starting point for an awesome game series there, and I think they should drill down on that and continue to elaborate on it. At least you can get everything digitally. So we'll see how that works out for Starlink going forward.
Could use a little help here.
She's not gonna make it.
Metroid Prime 4 might not be the only Samus Aran adventure coming to the Nintendo Switch. More rumors have come in that Nintendo's working on a remastered version of the Metroid Prime trilogy. Leaked images have appeared online from a Best Buy internal database that shows the Metroid Prime trilogy coming to the Switch in the near future, along with 2 other unannounced titles, a Switch remake of the Zelda classic, A Link to the Past, and a Switch port of the recent Persona 5. Persona 5 seems like a no-brainer given that the game's main character Joker is coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A Link to the Past also seems pretty obvious because Nintendo has already announced a Switch remake of another classic Zelda game, Link's Awakening, so they could be doing the same thing again. As for Metroid, fans have long been asking for the first 3 Prime games to be ported to the Switch. Nintendo already ported the first 2 games from the GameCube to the original Wii, and all 3 to the Wii U, so doing it once again for the Switch isn't too much of a stretch. It would also be a good way to tide fans over while they wait for the new Metroid Prime 4. That game was first announced at E3 2017, but since then, Nintendo has scrapped what they were working on and gone back to the drawing board with a different developer, Retro Studios, the same company behind the first 3 Prime games. That means we won't be playing it for at least a few years, so hopefully the trilogy on the Switch turns out to be the real deal. This isn't a surprise. We all know the Metroid Prime trilogy collection is coming to the Switch. This has been leaked for since before the Switch was announced, it felt like. We know that this is coming. What I would like to see happen is a 2D Metroid collection. I know you can play the original on the NES in the Nintendo Online library, which is great, but more 2D Metroid would be awesome. As for A Link to the Past, remade for the Nintendo Switch, yes please. Honestly, Link's Awakening is one of the games I'm most excited for in 2019. That game looks so ridiculously cool and so fun. I can't freaking wait. I am also very excited to carry Persona 5 around with me because I feel that's how I would invest the time in playing the game. It's such a massive RPG. I played it on the PlayStation 4 for a while, but it's not a fast-paced game. So even though I was having fun with Persona 5 when I first checked it out and thought the art style and the music, all of it was amazing, I was just like, wow, this is taking a long time. But on the Switch, I feel like that would be a good fit for it, just like Persona 4 was on the Vita. One of the cutest and most colorful RPG franchises ever is heading to theaters for the first time. Take a look at the first footage from Dragon Quest Your Story, the first big screen movie based on the long-running RPG series. The story is based on the plotline of Dragon Quest V, originally released on the SNES in 1992, and as you can see, the animation style looks very similar to the more recent Dragon Quest games, albeit with more realistic characters and textures. The film is being produced by Japanese giant Toho, and the best news is that game creator Yuji Horii is serving as producer alongside his development studio Armor Project and publisher Square Enix. Although there have been several anime TV shows based on Dragon Quest, this will be the first feature-length film adaptation. It hits theaters in Japan this summer. There's no word yet on a Western release, although given the global popularity of the franchise, don't be surprised if it gets an international rollout. I'd love to see this movie. I love the vibe of the Dragon Quest games. I don't pretend to know all of these stories as intricately as my pal Johnny does, Johnny Millennium from Happy Console Gamer, but it is a wonderful RPG escape every single time they release one of these titles, whether you play it on the DS or the PlayStation 2 or most recently on the PlayStation 4. Tons of great Dragon Quest experiences. You can get them on the iPhone if you want. Really, really good stuff and perfect fodder for in-depth feature-length film and developing the plot in some interesting ways and establishing some new attributes for some of these characters that we've seen in past Dragon Quest titles. Really looking forward to checking this out. It looks like Alan Wake developer Remedy Entertainment suffered writer's block when they tried to make a follow-up. After the success of the original Alan Wake and its spin-off American Nightmare, it turns out the team at Remedy began developing a full-fledged sequel. Speaking with VG247, Remedy Communications Director Thomas Puha revealed that they started working on a new Alan Wake game about 2 years ago, but unfortunately it just didn't pan out. He didn't really say why it didn't pan out, but the good news is that Remedy maintains ownership of the Alan Wake IP, so there's always the chance that they could return to the franchise at some point in the future. For now, Puha says they're booked solid on other projects like their upcoming game Control, which will occupy their time for the next couple of years. Alan Wake was a huge success when it was first released on the Xbox 360 back in 2010 and was much better received than Remedy's follow-up, the Xbox One game Quantum Break. And you know why that is? They spent all their time trying to make a TV show and sort of blending a TV show into a video game. And so we got a half-assed TV show and a half-assed video game from an excellent developer. But I didn't lose any enthusiasm for Remedy. I totally recognize that this studio is absolutely talented and ambitious and ready to build us lots and lots of cool things. So when I saw Control, and I think it was last E3, when I saw that for the first time, my mind went, poof, this is amazing. This looks like Remedy firing on all cylinders and doing the work that they're supposed to do. Not, they're narrative-driven. They're great with telling stories to their video games. That's a big part of why we care about their titles. But it's more about the game experience. And I feel like we're going to start to see Remedy just take off. I feel like we're going to hear that they're working on some really exciting new projects, and I'm super excited for that. And I can't wait for Control. I hope it's incredible. I really do. My fingers are crossed. All right, that's going to do it for our rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. Got a couple things to remind you of. Tomorrow, it's a brand new EP Live. Josh Nilsson is in the house, and he is from Eastside Games. They make the Trailer Park Boys game. That show starts at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. You can come down to 390 West Hastings and watch the show in person and get to ask your questions of Josh in person if you would like. And we also have a couple of contests on our Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/Electric Playground. So go there and enter, would you? And don't forget to hit subscribe and like if you dig our stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. Play forever.